Voters in Pennsylvania's 18th congressional district headed to the polls tonight for this special election that pitted Republican Rick Saccone and Democrat Conor Lamb against each other. President Trump easily defeated Hillary Clinton there in 2016. So Democrats and the mainstream media have tried to frame the contest as a bellwether for a potential blue wave in the 2018 midterms. But is that accurate? Right now, the election is simply too close to call. And joining us now with a reaction from Miami is former governor of the great state of Pennsylvania, Ed Rendell, who's probably very happy right now. He's a Democrat. And in New York, Monica Crowley, a senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research. Governor Rendell, have to go to you. Look, if Conor Lamb, in his early 30s, former military man, kind of a moderate Democrat, he pulls out a victory, what does it say to you?
Well, first of all, it is indicative of what's going on across the nation. This is our 19th special election, and in every one of them, the Democrats have picked up a substantial percentage of the vote from where they were in 16. So that's a good sign for the Democrats. But understand, the 18th is good Trump country. The president has a 51% favorable rating, according to the Monmouth poll, in the district. So it's solid Trump country. Lamb turned out to be a terrific candidate. He did a good job of not letting the Republicans nationalize the race. He is a moderate. He's pro-life. He's moderate on guns. He's a very intelligent candidate. He did a good job with the steelworkers and the coal miners, got their endorsement. So if he wins, and it's still close, I have it at 700 votes with 36 precincts left to be cast.
Well,
if he wins, it'll be a credit to him.
Well, that's for sure. And Monica, look, I would take issue with this idea that he's pro-life. I think Marjorie Dannenfelser's piece in National Review this week just put that to rest, because he's not really pro-life. He says, well, personally,
well, he's more pro-life. He's more pro-life than most Democrats.
Yeah, you're right. That's right, Governor Rendell. He is not a Nancy Pelosi Democrat. So, Monica, what does this say to the Democrat Party, though, if this is the type of Democrat who can win in a district where Trump won? What does that say to the Pelosi-Schumer wing of the party? They're moving left, and Conor Lamb seemed to move to the right.
Well, that's exactly right, Laura. Look, the current Democratic Party is Barack Obama's Democratic Party. It's no longer Bill Clinton's Democratic Party, a party of pragmatists and centrists. It is a far-left radical party. Conor Lamb broke the mold from that because he was running in a district that Donald Trump won by 20 points, very conservative district. So this is a young Marine veteran who, as the governor said, had a series of very conservative positions on guns and other issues that he embraced in order to try to win this race. The lesson going forward then for the Democratic Party is, if you want to try to get back to an appeal to the working class voters that helped put Donald Trump over the top, particularly, Laura, in those 10 key swing states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, then you better change your tune and get back to the Democratic principles of the party of old, which is more pragmatist, centrist, and moderate, and reject the Pelosi and Barack Obama, a far-left kind of radical approach.
I mean, Governor Rendell, I said this for some time, and others have as well, that's where the Democrats' sweet spot always was, the party of the little guy. And somehow the Democrats became the party of, like, the teachers' unions, of the trial lawyers, of the Planned Parenthood. And I think they missed, just like the Republicans did in a different way, they missed the heart of America. And the heart of America runs right through Pennsylvania, right through Pennsylvania.
No question, you're right. The core values of the Democratic Party going back 50 years are values that most Americans agree with, and we've gotten away from them. We play identity politics. It isn't good. And I tell my progressive friends, I said, Conor Lamb will cast a very important vote, and the vote that you should care most about, and that's for the next Speaker of the House. Whether it's Nancy Pelosi or somebody else, if it's a Democrat, we can bring legislation to the floor that we can't get to the floor now. That's the single most important thing. And if we want to be a party that really controls, we have to understand that, and our progressive wing has to understand it most of all.
Well, you think of the alarmism over Trump's tariffs, for instance, and both Saccone and Lamb gave, fairly decent support for the idea of tariffs, if not as broad-based as Trump's. But then you think of the caterwauling we heard from both the establishment Democrats, some of them, and the establishment Republicans, more so the Republicans. It just shows you this is why Trump won in Pennsylvania, because he's for bringing back manufacturing that both Democrats and Republicans, Obama and Hillary, and Republicans had said we're never going to get those jobs back. And that was an insult to the voters of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa, and beyond. And so if I'm a Democrat watching this tonight, I don't care if you're living in California or you're living in Wisconsin or Ohio. Conor Lamb, if he pulls out this narrow victory, they've got to look at this and say, wait a second, we better re-examine where we are in a whole host of issues. I know the country's different in places, but to me, that was Trump's recipe for success, and it can be the Democrats' recipe for success. Monica?
Remember, Laura, that Donald Trump essentially created a new winning coalition, sort of like what Obama did in 2008. Donald Trump turned everything upside down. He essentially was the first post-ideological president. So he takes positions that are not traditionally Republican, even though he won as a Republican president. That kind of cross-current appeal to the working class voters on all sides that have felt ignored by the elites in the Republican establishment, the Democratic establishment. They felt for a long time that their wages were not increasing. They couldn't get decent jobs. They were in the industrial Rust Belt, particularly in the Midwest, states like Pennsylvania, and Donald Trump gave them a voice. He spoke to them. And you know what? Because he's post-ideological, he is solutions-oriented. He is not ideologically based. He is solutions-oriented. So if you're a Democrat and if your candidate pulls us out in this district, the lesson is to reject the far-left approach that was begun by Obama and perpetuated by Nancy Pelosi and the other radicals that are controlling the Democratic Party. Their eyes should be open tonight, and they should see, even if they lose, this is a very close race, they should see that the path to electoral success does not go through far-left radicalism.
Governor Rendell, got about 15 seconds. Let's say Saccone had run as an establishment Republican, not in favor of tariffs. Where do you think this race would have been tonight? Again, we don't know where it's going to turn out, but don't you think Conor Lamb would have been ahead like 10 points at least?
Well, at least 3 or 4, no question. And look, tariffs, I testified about imposing a tariff when I was governor because China was dumping steel into the U.S. to try to drive out our steel industry. The thing that Donald Trump did wrong, Laura, is he did it too broad-based. You should do it against transgressors, people who are dumping product into the U.S.
He got a lot of leverage against the EU, and we're going to see where that leverage leads.